Welcome to the Sega Wow Show, Women on Wednesdays, brought to you by Sega, the world's leading organisation for sport integrity. On the first Wednesday of every month, Sega showcases thought leadership initiatives spearheaded by female executives, senior industry leaders, sportswomen and influencers who will address, from a female lens, the most critical integrity challenges facing contemporary sports. This fourth episode is dedicated to sport integrity, why must global brands take action, and features inspirational senior executives in sports sponsorship. Alison Giordano, Global Sponsorships and Content Marketing, Mastercard, and newly appointed Vice Chair of the Sega Global Council. Christine Wiley, Director of Global Sponsorships, Global Brand Marketing Division at Metlife, and Julia George, Sponsorship Manager at Heineken. Presented by Sega's Global Chief Operating Officer and Managing Director of the Sega Women Programme, Katie Simmons. Stay tuned as our guests discuss their career journeys, integrity issues at the heart of sport, inclusion, and so much more. We are ready for Sega Wow. Over to you, Katie.
Hello, everyone. Greetings from the south of France. Yes, that's right. I've managed to escape London and I'm working from the stunning Côte d'Azur. It may be August and holiday season for some, but like health and safety, integrity never takes a day off. Welcome to our fourth episode of Sega Wow, Women on Wednesdays, the show dedicated to celebrating and empowering women in sport. For our new viewers, I'm Katie Simmons. I'm the Global Chief Operating Officer at Sega, and I'm Managing Director of the Sega Women Programme. And what a lineup we have today for you. Stay tuned for our special guest, Claire Johnson, CEO of The Naked Warrior, who's going to share her tips and advice on how to unleash your alpha female. And as usual, we have our regular monthly features. We have gift giveaways with the chance to win awesome goodies from Metlife and Mastercard, a career corner packed with how to wow, interactive questions from our global audience, and of course, the man of the month. Shout out to the lyrical genius that was July's Man of the Month, Mr. Keith Jones, for providing us with that hip hop opening track. Keith, you're the only one who can rap rule of law, global and local politics and vocals. And I do have a request. If Annie Lennox is watching, I'd love to open an episode with Sisters Are Doing It for Themselves. As a lawyer, Annie, I will not infringe copyright, but what a banging and relevant track for the Wow Show that would be. This fourth episode is dedicated to sport integrity. Why must global brands take action? And we have three of the biggest brands in the business represented by three lovely leaders in sports sponsorship. First up is Alison Giordano, Global Sponsorships and Content Marketing at Mastercard and newly appointed Vice Chair of the Sega Global Council. Christine Wiley, Director of Global Sponsorships, Global Brand Marketing Division at Metlife. And last but certainly not least, Julia George, Sponsorship Manager at Heineken. Sega Wow is interactive, so please send us your questions to our guests in the live chat. Follow us at Sega Alliance, hashtag Sega Women, hashtag Sega Wow. So if you're on holiday, grab a refreshing drink, maybe a cold one. Get in the shade. And if you're at work, why not take a break? It is now time to wow. So let's give it up, people. Make some noise for our trio of business women in sport. It's Alison, Christine, and Julia. Welcome to Women on Wednesdays. And I'm going to start with a question to Julia to ask her to tell us about her fascinating career journey that saw her travel from New Zealand all over the world, delivering amazing sports sponsorship across the globe. Where did it all begin, Julia? And how did you get to where you are now?
Thanks, Katie, and hello. Where did it all begin? Good question. It seems like quite some time ago now. So I have to say, I didn't start in sports sponsorship. So where I started in my career was actually in PR and marketing. I did a degree in Christchurch. So for those of you who don't know, Christchurch is a relatively small but certainly interesting city in New Zealand. So that's where I'm originally from. And I remember finishing my degree and thinking, what on earth am I going to do? And I sent out a ton of emails. I knocked on doors. I think I approached probably every agency there was in Christchurch, and there are a few for being a small city. And luckily someone took pity on me and let me sort of do an internship there. I remember my first job. They actually had a Antarctica, New Zealand as one of their clients. And I vividly remember probably my first day, I had to ring around and try and find huskies to drive a sleigh down the high street in Christchurch. So that was my introduction to sort of sponsorship and marketing and PR. So very, very interesting first day. I then went on to work in technology PR for the likes of Microsoft and Cisco. And anyone who actually knows me probably knows I'm a little bit of a technophobe. I'm not the best at technology, so it probably wasn't the right fit for me. And I remember having to call up journalists and sell in very technical stories and not having a clue of what I was trying to tell the story. So that was another sort of interesting move. After a number of years, I went to London, and I remember there's sort of certain points in your career you remember, and I remember being told I would not find a job because I didn't have a black book of contacts, which I thought was ridiculous. And I was lucky again. I found an amazing agency that offered me a role. And it was a luxury PR agency that specialised in fashion, beauty and lifestyle. And I have to say, coming from a small town in New Zealand and being thrown into a London agency working in fashion and beauty and fashion celebrities and glamorous events in London was a steep learning curve, to say the least. And I worked on some amazing campaigns with the likes of Mario Testino, Brian Adams, who's actually now a photographer or was at the time, and again working on some of sort of red carpet events and things like that in London. And I think I remember a lot about this period, probably moving from New Zealand into this crazy sort of fashion world in London that was so foreign to me at the time. And I remember really sort of being at odds as to how to act and how to be, because it was so different for me. And I stayed true to myself. I stayed true to my roots, I guess, as to who I am and my casual Kiwi way. And I actually learned a lot in terms of the more that I did that, the more I actually succeeded. So rather than sort of changing who I am. I remember I famously told one of the founders she actually needed to chill out, and she took that well. I think we're still friends. So that's sort of, again, being true to who I am. I then branched over to the world of Heineken, firstly through agency and then within this role. And I didn't know the industry. It was football and Formula One. And for me in New Zealand, rugby is what rules. Formula One is on in the middle of the night, so it's very difficult to watch. And football is more popular now, but not really when I grew up. So again, I had to learn all of this industry, but it's something that I love about the role, and it's something that I love about my job and becoming experts and learning all these sorts of things. So that is a quick fire stop as to how I got to where I am.
What a trajectory, and so many lessons packed in there. Be authentic to yourself, fake it till you make it, dare I say. Christine, over to you. You've got over 15 years of experience in developing sports sponsorships and executing integrated marketing campaigns. Can you give us a flavour of your career journey and the types of sports you've worked with? Because it's been quite a few.
Indeed, yes. First, thank you, Katie, and thank you to Sega for inviting me to be a part of the discussion today. I'm very excited to be here and hopefully can share a little bit of knowledge or a little bit of insight with you all today. And much like Julia, I did not start in sports sponsorships either. I was a political science major in college, and coming out of college, immediately went into working on political campaigns. So I was fortunate to move all over the country, experience lots of different cultures within America, lots of different experiences living in different states. And ultimately, after about 7 years of that, it's like, I think it's time to do something different. And at the ripe age of 28, I have what I call my career crisis to figure out what was I going to do with the rest of my professional career. And fortunately, was very lucky to be able to take about a year's time or so to figure out what it was I was going to do next. And I kid you not, through a Google search, discovered that there was this entire landscape of sports marketing. And as someone who grew up playing every sport under the sun, following all of my Philadelphia roots, hometown sports teams and rooting them on, discovered and knew I had a passion for sports and was like, I think I could do this. Let's figure out how to make it happen. So that's when I really learned the power and the skill of networking. I did a lot of cold calls, a lot of, hey, I'm connected to you through 7 other people. Would you be willing to take 25 minutes to talk to me and tell me everything that you know about this industry? And really use that time to learn as much as I could. And I firmly believe, that time that I spent cold calling people, asking for people's time, led to my first opportunity at Octagon. I knew I felt I knew the landscape, was better prepared to answer interview questions and really set myself up for an opportunity that was right up my alley. I'm a big golf fan. I played golf in college. So to move into this new phase of my career and to get to work in golf was just pretty much a dream come true. I was so excited. And that led to 10 years of work at Octagon. And as Julia mentioned, agency life is a lot of fun. You get to experience so many different things, meet so many different people. I had incredible travel opportunities. Interestingly enough, probably about 18 months after working on golf, I had an opportunity to move over to Octagon's BMW account. So much like Julia again, I got great luxury experience. The focus on BMW was much more experiential marketing, which again lends itself very well to the space. And I pushed Octagon and ultimately said, you know what, I came here because I want to work in sports. How can we make this happen? And they were great. I moved over then to work with JBL, the speaker company, who at the time was an NBA sponsor. So I got experience working with the NBA, and then transitioned to AB InBev, Anheuser-Busch, doing their global sports sponsorship. So the opportunity to work with FIFA, the World Surf League, and the Tomorrowland Music Festival, which was all fantastic. And again, all of that experience after 10 years with Octagon led to an opportunity at Metlife. And now I'm getting to experience the brand side of things. It's been a great learning experience for me as well. And now I've been with Metlife working on our PGA Tour, LPGA Tour, and then MetLife Stadium, where I oversee the naming rights of MetLife Stadium, which includes partnerships with the 2 football teams. And I'm not going to say their names just yet, because that may come later in the discussion. So yeah, that's kind of been my career trajectory.
So you've gone from, developing your contacts, which is absolutely key. And I must say, even through the WOW show, I was introduced by Kate Bevan, who was our first episode for Formula One, to Julia, and Alison introduced me to you. So, it doesn't stop. The networking doesn't stop, no matter what level your career is at. And I think that's one that certainly I'd like the audience to take into account, some of the young women who are planning their careers. So that was a great lesson there. But also you've gone from agency side to client side. Yes. So that's again, to show the how much there is to do in sports, really. It's absolutely phenomenal. Sport is often seen as male dominated. What were the challenges you faced as a woman working in sport, or any, maybe there were none, and how did you overcome them? Julia, do you want to go first? And then would love Christine to see her 2 cents in.
Of course. Maybe we'll be the same again, Christine. Who knows? Yes. We have parallel lives. Of course. So I think, look, for me, I think honestly, I can't say I've ever worked in a fully male-dominated world. I think across my experience, across agencies, they are often frequented by females. There's a good mix of females and males. I've also been really lucky to have some really great female leaders across my career that I have learned a lot from. I think both in what you want to be and some in what you not want to be, which is okay too. It's sort of a learning both ways. Heineken is actually the first place where one of my leaders is male, I have to say, and he's brilliant. And I'm so lucky to have someone that really does champion and support my decisions and my career and things like that. I think as well, from a Heineken perspective, as a company, it is a hugely supportive place to work in terms of inclusivity and diversity. We have a number of programs. We have a global inclusion program. We have a program that supports top female talent. We have targets that we want to meet in terms of our senior management roles. So it does feel a very supportive company to work in, which is brilliant. And I think in the world of sports sponsorship and in the world of Formula One, yes, there are a lot of males that work in that industry. Surprisingly enough, though, there are actually a ton of females that work in the industry that you come across. And I think even having said that there are a lot of males within Formula One, it doesn't ever feel that because I'm a female that I'm not getting the respect, or it's a more difficult industry. I feel that as long as you have respect for others, that you're doing your job well, that you build those relationships. Again, it's really all about relationships, regardless of what gender you are. And I find the world of motorsports actually really welcoming to females within that world. Incidentally, my team are all females, so it's a team of ladies that run all the motorsports within Heineken. And again, I think from my perspective, we're one of the best teams out there. So it certainly illustrates that, gender doesn't hold you back at all.
Meritocracy is, I think, one of the words that just came to my mind when you were speaking. Christine, what's your experience like? Have you got any anecdotes on how you've dealt with some challenging situations in a male-dominated world and how you overcame them? Or has it not been an issue during your career?
Unfortunately, unlike Julia, who sounded very positive, I would say I have had some challenges and some difficulties. And as much as, I love the PGA Tour, I love working in American football, but those are definitely very male-dominated industries in sports specifically. And being the only woman in the room sometimes, I do feel it incumbent upon myself to speak up and to make myself present and to make myself known to everybody in the room. And it's funny, I remember when I first joined Metlife, about a month later was the PGA Tour does the Players Championship, which is kind of like their biggest tournament. And they host it at PGA at TPC Sawgrass, right in that where the PGA Tour is headquartered. And there was an event the first night and showed up with my boss, who was a male, and looked around the room, and there were exactly 3 women at this function. And all of the men seemed to know each other. And suddenly the 2 other women in the room, we found ourselves just chatting it up all by ourselves. And I won't say it was because the men didn't want to talk to us. I do feel, the bond, being a woman, being very outnumbered, we just kind of felt this immediate bond. But I will say what has come out of that is a great friend who, is still with the PGA Tour. We stay in touch, checking in on each other during COVID. So I will say that that's been very interesting, an outcome. I have also been told at meetings, to tone down my personality. From
how did that go down?
Not so good, actually. It was getting pulled into an office, and it was very much, Katie, one of those, I need to see you in my office right now. And I was like, what the heck? And I was like, I don't even know what you need to have an office conversation about. But it was relayed to me, you need to tone down your personality. we were with a C-level executive, and that's not how you interact with a C-level executive. And my head was on a swivel. I was like looking around the room to find if there was like a hidden camera somewhere, that some practical joke was being played on me, that this was the feedback I was getting. And I think, it speaks to, are you then in the right environment for you? Being your authentic self. If you can't be who you are and true to yourself, then that's maybe not the right fit for you. So it is, I would say it's certainly a challenge being a woman in the sports industry. And it's something you just need to be very conscious of, very aware of, and bringing your true self is most important.
Thank you for sharing that. And certainly as part of our global mentorship program, we have these group digital sessions. And that does seem to be sort of something that pops up every now and again, where some of the young women do feel isolated. And I think the danger is in those situations is to then assimilate and try and be somebody else, because that's not going to work. So I think, the fact you've got to where you are in your career is really inspiring, and can certainly be a great fuel in terms of how they can behave in that situation. Moving on to brands, which is what you're both working. Julia, what criteria does Heineken as a brand look for when deciding which sports to sponsor? Does sport integrity matter, and how much so?
Yeah, so look, I think when we look at the Heineken sponsorships that we have, they are, majority of them are long-term sponsorships. So it's not like we're constantly jumping to the hottest thing. We are in the sponsorships we're in mainly because of the fans, right? That's why we do what we do. We're in it to connect with fans over passions and celebrations. So honestly, we look for sports that allow us to do this. And I think when we also activate our sponsorships, it's also, it's not just a branding exercise for us. It's not just about putting branding on Formula One tracks or within football. It's actually, how do we enhance the experience for the fans? How do we enhance and connect with the fans and actually make an amazing experience for that sponsorship and for that sport beyond what is already existing? So we kind of go into it looking with that realm and saying, well, how can we actually bring more to this for the fans? And really that's it.
I think that leads us really nicely to an example. So I'm going to ask the studio to cue the trophy tours for Champions League in markets outside of Europe video, and just to say, watch out for the great hairstyle.
Okay, you're probably wondering what we're all doing here today. At Heineken, we love soccer. We know you love soccer. That's why we want you to be a part of the UEFA Champions League Trophy Tour presented by Heineken. Now, there's someone very special about to join us. Two-time Champions League winner, Italian superstar, Andrea Pirlo. Yeah.
That was awesome. Meeting Andrea Pirlo doesn't get better than that on a Sunday.
I thought it was just going to be a photo shoot for the website, to be honest.
Oh, we weren't expecting it. His hair, magnificent. His shot, even better.
All right, guys, let's play. Yeah! Okay, guys, we've got one more unmissable surprise for you. The UEFA Champions League trophy.
Cheers indeed. I love that video. Christine, you oversee MetLife's partnership with the PGA Tour and the New York Giants, New York Jets, and naming rights of MetLife Stadium. What considerations does MetLife take in account when deciding what sports to align their brand with?
Well, first of all, I have to say that video was awesome. And I think it speaks so well to why brands are so involved in sport, right? The passion that fans have, the excitement of showing up at Asphalt Green on a Sunday morning, and lo and behold, there is an Italian midfielder and UEFA champion on the pitch with you. I mean, that is so exciting. And I think that is definitely what brands want to be a part of and tap into that energy and excitement. Certainly MetLife is no different. MetLife Stadium, and obviously in America here, passion for American football it's incredible. It's the most watched sport on Sundays, and to be in a major metropolitan market like New York City and home to 2 football teams is a big reason why MetLife decided to sponsor have the naming rights of the stadium when that became available to us about 8 years ago now. So obviously to the point of passion and a large number of fans, but then you look at something like the PGA Tour or the LPGA Tour, which now a subsidiary of ours is a official marketing partner of. Versant Health is a sponsor of the LPGA Tour, and that is about speaking to up and coming issues, important issues of the day, right? Versant Health was very committed to women's sport, supporting women, showing their support for professional athletes who are women. And so that's why that sponsorship came about, and it was a big reason why. So again, I think, especially in today's day and age where social issues, community issues are very much at the forefront of today's society, that's another, resource that organizations and brands can tap into and really leverage their partnerships with.
And with that, Christine, can you tell us the gift giveaway question? I may have given a clue in my original question, but let's see if everyone's listening. Go ahead.
Now we'll know if anyone was paying attention. So there are 2 professional American football teams that play at MetLife Stadium. Can you name them?
Fantastic. Send your answers in the live text, and we will announce the winner during the end of the show. Christine, you mentioned social causes and how sport and brands and social causes are closely aligned. And this ranges from athletes taking the knee. It's happened in the Olympics. It's happened in your football, soccer. It's happened in our football. We've also got sports stars like Marcus Rashford, Lewis Hamilton, who are passionate about creating equal opportunities for young people in their communities. What social causes does MetLife support? And how do you see the brand's role in the community to support integrity?
Great question. And certainly it's something, as I mentioned before, that all brands really need to be aware of and conscious of. And the strong brands are really leveraging the sponsorships that the existing sponsorships that they have to push and to lean into those. As I mentioned with Versant Health, the importance of equality for women and equal pay for women is a big reason why they got involved, and to show their commitment, Versant Health's commitment to women's sport is a big part of that. MetLife is very involved in a lot of DE&I initiatives right now. We're working to try and integrate that into our sports properties and sports sponsorships. It's much more led from, those elements are much more led from kind of the MetLife Foundation, which is the arm of MetLife that heavily supports social causes. But historically, Black colleges and universities, you look at the NBA All-Star game held a few months back, and that was extremely focused on showing support and showing the need to support these universities to help Black American students really set forward and achieve great education opportunities, and then leading down the road to professional opportunities for them. So I do really think, it's incumbent upon brands to not be ignore what's happening in society and recognize these conversations and put themselves in those conversations if they really want to be relevant.
And obviously, your stadium's usually absolutely packed with the fans. You know, your name, the branding's on it. Tell us how you coped with the pandemic. And I know we've got a video to show one of the social causes examples, but how did you connect with the fans when they weren't there?
That has been the biggest challenge. And I think in our professional careers, this is a curveball we never saw coming. And really, in the last 16, 18 months, have had to, the word pivot, everybody talks about, we had to pivot, but man, did we really have to pivot in this scenario? You know, MetLife Stadium holds 80,000 fans a week, and suddenly they weren't there anymore. But football was still, American football was still happening. We wanted to tap into that kind of bit of normalcy that was still going on. So I won't tease the video too much, but we wanted to engage with the football fans within the New York City market, and again, speaking to being cognizant of what's going on and aware of what's happening at the time, you know, recognizing the frontline workers who were so instrumental and still to this day are in the battle against COVID, and recognizing those efforts. And maybe that could be a good tease into the video then.
That's the perfect segue.
Bart Scott here.
And Victor Cruz.
MetLife is installing 2-story high murals at MetLife Stadium.
Celebrating the workforce of the tri-state area.
Nice, right?
Even nicer, we want you to design it.
Tiffany, congratulations. I'm Liz Harish from MetLife, and I just want to congratulate you on winning the MetLife Workforce Mural Contest.
Congratulations again. I'm so excited for you.
What's up, guys? I'm Victor Cruz here with Liz Harish of MetLife to announce the winner of the MetLife Mural Contest. And the winner is Trisha Riley Matthews. She had a beautiful mural. I voted for it. It was great.
I am very humbled and honored to win this. I had no idea that my painting of a child would be chosen.
Just seeing that empty stadium just made me feel so sad, and just realised all what we've been missing over the last year. But there is hope, and I loved seeing it full. And I hope that your games will be playing. Are they being played at the moment, Christine? Are they coming back?
We are just a few weeks away, and actually those 2 murals will be unveiled in 10 days on August 14th. We'll have both Victor Cruz and Bart Scott there to unveil the murals with our artists. So it'll be great to see that program come to its completion. And what's, I think, most exciting for me about it is now it's time to actually share it with all of the fans who will be coming into MetLife Stadium this fall. So that it's a way to honor the workforce and recognize so many people for what they have done this past year. And those will be up for fans to view and feel a part of, you know, for the next few years, which is really exciting.
Just shows the power of brands to bring that sense of community. And Julia, from a Heineken perspective, what social causes as a brand are you supporting at the moment?
So, look, I think we can say, I can agree, Christine, in terms of pivoting, there was a lot of pivoting on this side as well.
Spinning.
Lots of spinning as to, oh God, what do we do? And I think it actually allowed us, like, seeing what you guys did is amazing. And I think that's why we're in what we're in, right? For these kind of amazing experiences we can give to people and fans. And actually it's interesting because I think you during this time, you could allow yourself to be super creative because you had the opportunity to be. So, yeah, we did a lot of pivoting and ideas. But in terms of the social causes, look, there's two that I wanted to specifically talk about. And I think one is around our sponsorship with Formula One. So, yes, we are an alcohol brand, and yes, we sponsor Formula One. But sort of when we were going into this partnership, one of the key reasons was actually because we wanted to use this platform of Formula One with the millions of viewers and the fans and this audience to actually tell a really important responsibility message for us, which is hugely important. So we created a campaign called When You Drive, Never Drink. So you will see across a number of the races, or all of the races actually, the branding that we have on track, you will see When You Drive, Never Drink. And we've actually moved a lot of, or most and majority of our branding to Heineken 00 as well. So we don't actually use Heineken Original within our motorsports platforms most of the time. So that was sort of the first step that we did in terms of that campaign. And then I think for us, it was more so, how do we actually create change? Because it's one thing about branding and it's one thing about having your branding on track and talking about that message, but how can we actually create behavioural change to help people, or to help reduce drink driving? So we actually did an experiment. We commissioned a piece of research, firstly, just to understand the drink driving behaviour across the world. And then we wanted to actually go into an experimental phase to see if we could actually change behaviour to drink drive within the bar. And what we found was really interesting. So we did our first experiment in the UK, and we found that actually, no matter what the pre-planning and all these great intentions that people have when they go out for a night out, or even just a night to meet their friends for a couple of drinks, it's that split-second moment where you enter the bar and you go over to the barman and the barman asks you what drink you would like. That split second is when you decide whether you're going to drink and drive or not, which we found so super interesting, because if we could get into that point of changing behaviour in that one decision moment, then we could create real impact. So we worked with a behavioural change agency where we did this experiment. We did it across a number of different markets. So it wasn't just the UK. We did it in New Zealand, Russia, Vietnam. So a number of different locations. And we placed nudges throughout the bar. So small nudges that actually impacted people's decision. And one of the key nudges was actually the barman. So it sounds super simple, but it was such a scientific process to get to this. And the simple thing of the barman asking you, are you driving? And if you answer yes, he then or she then says, we have a look at our non-alcohol options, that reduced drink driving by up to 50%. So it was just so interesting to see this. And we've started to implement it across a number of our bars within what we do in Formula One. So that was one thing that we did that we're super proud of. And the second, which I have a video to show you, actually is a recent campaign we've just launched, is around sustainability. So again, we're very aware that the sponsorships that we're in do create waste and do create energy. And our part to play in that is also, how can we make what we do much more sustainable? So we looked at how we can redesign the bar, these pop-up bars that we have across all of our music festivals, our events, our sponsorships, and make them much more sustainable. When I say much more sustainable, I don't remember all the stats, but there are a number of them of how we've reduced our footprint. So I think there is a video to show on this, and we launched this at Formula E over the recent E-Prix in London.
Here it is, it's the Greener Bar.
Hello. Hey. Heineken 00, please. It is really exciting for Heineken to launch the Greener Bar. They're taking action to find a greener way for fans to enjoy their bars and experience Heineken more sustainably. Cheers. Cheers.
Loving the music there. And I always knew that the barman had all the right answers. So maybe you should have come to me rather than the research. But I just think that's great. What Heineken's putting back in terms of sustainability. It's truly, well, it's just everything that we need brands to do and should be done. So congratulations. I've also got a question. Could you share an example of when Heineken took a positive stand to change the needle of the way male sport is perceived?
Yeah, I've got a really great example. It was when I was actually agency side, so I can't say that I was the mastermind behind this, but I would take the credit if I can. So it was actually when Formula One still had grid girls within their rights package and how they activate. And I remember Formula One were very keen on changing this and removing grid girls, but they really needed a partner to come on board and support that to show that it can be done. So they came to us and we looked at a really interesting way to use that property instead of grid girls, but actually using it for something much more meaningful, much more unique. We brought a whole lot of influencers on board that captured content across the weekend that actually showed Formula One in an amazing light and gave fans, I guess, more access as well to Formula One. So it was a really, firstly, it was something that we definitely championed alongside Formula One. And secondly, it was something that we could show, look, you can use these rights to really do something different, more meaningful and unique. And after that, the grid girls were actually phased out of Formula One. So that was something we're really proud of.
And that shows tremendous impact. And I think that really does affect the image of the sport and also the image for women all around the world. So I've got questions coming in thick and fast. I'm going to go to a couple live ones now. And there's a question from Karen Korb in America. This is for both of you. How are you intentionally including the 1.3 billion global market of disabled people within your organization's sponsorship marketing campaigns? I don't know who wants to take that one.
Ooh, well, I'll start. I mean, that is a great question. Thank you for that. And honestly, I probably would say it's something that is overlooked, truly, and something that brands need to do a better job. I mean, even with your question, you've just kind of planted in my head, like, what could we be doing or what should we be doing for that audience? And there are ways to support, certainly. One obviously goes straight to thinking of like the Paralympic Committee, especially with those happening and coming up. I was able to do a lot of work with BMW when they were a sponsor of the U.S. Olympic Committee, and really had some interesting access to and insight into some of those Paralympic athletes and the challenges that they face and obviously not only the physical limitations that come with that and how they work to achieve great athletic success. And it's, you stumped me on that one a little bit, because I do think it's probably something that needs to have more focus and more attention paid to it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, actually. We had the power of the Paralympics in our last episode, and Karen was speaking on that. And I think it is a great question. More certainly needs to be done. What's Heineken's position on that, Christine?
Yeah, look, I would agree with Christine. I think it's something that we definitely would look at and should look at. And we have actually discussed it as a brand before. And I think it's something that should form part of the inclusion and diversity, program of how you look at your marketing and how you activate your sponsorship. So, yeah, I agree. I think it's a great question.
On the subject of diversity and inclusion, Heineken predominantly was a brand for male consumers. How have you and are you changing the marketing for women? And what is the rationale? Because surely we make up, I think it's 51% of the population.
Well, I'm going to disagree, Katie, because I think it's a misconception that females don't drink beer. So, and that's, to be honest, that's how we look at it. We are a brand that's for anyone, right? So we really aren't about marketing to males or marketing to females. We're marketing to our audience and to our fans. And especially when we look at our sponsorships, it's about the fans, regardless of the gender. But interestingly enough, about this kind of misconception about how, do females drink beer or do men drink other drinks, we actually took this sort of idea of misconception and created a campaign around it. So I will show you. It's sort of a witty video around exactly what I've just said.
Fantastic marketing to show how we can break down stigmas and barriers for men and women. It just put a smile on my face, that. And cheers to everybody out there. On the theme of breaking barriers for women, let's cut to my interview with Alison Giordano. She's at Mastercard. She couldn't be here live, unfortunately, but I did catch up with her earlier this week. I know that she's incredibly busy, probably doing some sponsorship deals. And we'd like to kick off with the video from World Rugby and Women's Rugby, which Mastercard has just sponsored. And I think this video also shows the power of brands to coin a rugby phrase to break the line.
Rugby has taught me about life.
Taught me how to be confident.
Discipline. Respect. Celebrating each other. Building trust. Being able to do things that are probably not socially acceptable in real life.
Thank you. You all come from different cultural backgrounds.
Different personality types.
You carry on. You're all there for the same reason.
My size was celebrated.
Different heights, different shapes, different weights.
We are happy to have you. Welcome.
It's just a great inclusive sport. Join us.
Mon équipe, c'est une deuxième famille.
Being in a line-out, you have no time to think. Sheer power.
You just feel like you're flying.
I love this scrum.
Everyone has one focus.
Working together.
We are 8, we are 1. Defense is about the team.
Putting your body on the line.
Going up as one.
Having each other's backs.
Passing, how connected we are, it's so important. Being in each other's minds and thoughts.
Predicting where they're going to be. When you break the line, it's a mean feeling.
自分がブレイクスルーしたらすごいこの中では嬉しいし。
If I break the line as a prop, my first feeling is scared.
When you get a try, it's the best feeling ever, man.
You just sort of reborn.
The ultimate team aspect of the ultimate team sport.
Wow, what a bunch of girls.
Il n'y a pas d'autre équipe comme celle-ci.
Without rugby, I wouldn't know what so many beautiful parts of life are.
100% team powered. That's a wrap.
We are done.
Ali, I'm super pumped after that video, and in those words, welcome, and we're happy to have you. It's great to have you here on the Sega Wow Show. And first off, I want to wish you, on behalf of Sega, congratulations for your recent election onto the Sega Council as Vice Chair. Tell me, what has been the reaction since the announcement?
Thanks so much, Katie, for having me. I'm super thrilled to be here and honored to be part of the Sega Council and participate in this important mission that you and the team have been leading for a few years now. The response for me has actually been overwhelming in terms of support, not only internally and with my biggest champion, Michael Robichaud, who helped kind of lead the driving factors behind Sega and also played such an important role on the council previously. But beyond that, the organization has really embraced me in this important role, and also the industry as a whole. I've had folks reach out, not only contacts that I've known, but people globally who are in the sports industry that I don't know and are just really excited about what's to come.
It was a great occasion for Sega because we changed our constitution recently to ensure we had gender equity in the council, and Mastercard's been leading the way on that front. Can you give us a sneak preview of your amazing career on sports sponsorship, and just give us the highlights of some of the amazing sport properties that Mastercard sponsors around the world?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been very fortunate, starting as early as an intern at the University of Virginia in the athletic department, and having the opportunity to work with great organizations and at amazing events from the Olympics to ESPN, and then at Mastercard now for 17 years, which has given me the opportunity to work with so many different organizations, from the Yankees and Major League Baseball, the PGA Tour, the Recording Academy, to more recently World Rugby, the RNA, Olympic Lyonnais, Arsenal Women's Football Club. So we, as an organization, are super excited about the partners that we work with. We're always pushing each other to, drive our activations forward and really dig in and deliver what consumers are looking for.
Why is Mastercard a Sega founding member, and why does sport integrity matter to you as a global brand and as a driver with some of the decisions you make to sponsor?
Yeah, absolutely. Katie, you know firsthand that we're committed to sports integrity, gender equity, across the board, within sponsorships and across our business and the world. And really, for us, what Sega stands for, the mission around transparency, across finance transparency, good governance, is so important to Mastercard because it's really endemic to how we operate. Our brand's foundation is integrity, security, and experience. So it's really been a natural fit for our organizations to work together through these years and to continue on that path. Leaning in on the goals of what Sega has is something that is important for me, and it's something that I'm going to champion moving forward.
As a leader, Alison, in sports sponsorship, what keeps you awake at night with some of the properties that you sponsor and the risk of reputational damage?
Absolutely. It's a great question, Katie. We're living in a world of so much technology, and people, have it at the tips of their fingers. If you're not understanding your communities, a post can make or break a brand. So at Mastercard, we spend a lot of time understanding our communities and really listening to ensure we're doing the genuine and authentic thing at all times.
And what role do you feel that Sega can play with its independent rating and verification system? And for those viewers who are not aware of it, it's called SERVS. It's the Sega Independent Rating and Verification System. And it's the first ever independent audit of sports organizations in accordance with their governance to bring about greater transparency and scrutiny. And how do you think, Alison, that can help Mastercard and other brands rest at night and know that their sponsorships are in safe hands?
No, look, it's, again, we're living in a time where brand trust is so critical. And so to me, serves can really help drive that, not only from a brand perspective, but for the properties. You know, what Sega's done here is really created a standard, and it's a standard that properties can strive towards, right? You know, it allows them to look inside, you know, identify areas that they can improve and keep that improvement ongoing, just like, you know, everyone needs to. On the brand side, it's important because it becomes a reference point. You know, it's another criteria point that brands can lean on and look to when they're making investment decisions.
I think what success could look like for us, Ali, is that if a sport goes through the rating system and we give a rating and it's gold, which is best, and the ratings are in good, better, and best, bronze, silver, and gold, and then a brand like Mastercard goes in and looks at that rating and says, well, actually, look at the gender equity on the board of this sports organization, for example. This is bang on as part of our core values, and we are going to therefore change our investment or consider a new investment. I think then that would be a really good and powerful reaction to for sports sponsorship to change. So we welcome that, and we look forward to working with Mastercard in this regard. And on the subject of diversity and inclusion, I mentioned it's one of your core values. How does this impact on the properties you sponsor, as it's in your DNA?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, diversity, equity, and inclusion is core to, you know, who we are at Mastercard and across our business. And from a gender perspective, we're really leaning in to design a world with, you know, all voices in mind, with women's voice in mind. You know, 51% of the world's population is women, and that's an important audience for everybody. But we want to make sure that, you know, there's diverse voices in our decision making, in our partnerships. So what we do is we identify brands that are like-minded and that are really looking to drive change in this space, really across CE&I, and that's definitely a criteria and something important when it comes to looking at who we're working with. And, you know, we have so many examples from, you know, World Rugby and some of the content that you've already shown to Olympic Lyonnais and some of our other partners who are really breaking down barriers in this space.
And with that, I'd love to cue the video to Olympic Lyonnais and this recent campaign that you did.
We'll pave the way for you guys, and we're really pumped to have your names on the jerseys. Believe in yourself.
So believe in yourself. And I think women, as a rule, sometimes we sometimes doubt ourselves and it holds us back. And that's certainly been something, some of the feedback that I've received during the mentorship program, which I ran this year. And you were one of our global mentors and were paired with Taylor Green, who's on our council. What three tips?
Lovely.
Yeah, she is lovely. Shout out to Taylor. What 3 tips would you give to young women carving a career in the sports industry?
I think being yourself is super important, and don't change to try to fit a mold that you know either is, you know, you think might be there. Be curious and always be curious, and be confident in your voice. You know, you reference confidence. Many women don't have that confidence to speak up or, you know, feel secure about their point of view, depending on the situation that I've seen in the past. And I think, you know, having that confidence in your voice can get you far.
Thank you. That's brilliant. And I know our young listeners out there will really be taking note of that. And finally, Alison, Sega's a multi-stakeholder coalition that gathers the whole industry around one central mission, which is clean sport, free from corruption. Global brands and sponsors are one of our key membership categories. We need more, like Mastercard, to join our efforts. What's your call to action to get more global brands to join our global movement and become members of Sega?
Sure. You know, we are living in this time where brand trust is more critical than ever. So as a brand, you really need to make sure, you know, you have things, you know, in line every step of the way. So for us, Sega really helps us build that connection with the people we're trying to serve. And, you know, it's something that I think, especially in the sports industry, and Katie, we've spoken about this, there's just such a need given, the real-timeness of today's life, that to have this criteria, to have serves, to have, this transparency is more important than ever. So for me, I'm happy to speak to any brand who's interested to learn more so that they can understand how Sega's mission can help them build brand trust.
Thank you so much. And we've got two great brands with us. So I'm going to cut back to my conversation with them, and that's Heineken and Metlife. Thank you, Alison from Mastercard. We cannot wait to continue our collaboration and create more gender diversity and inclusion, but also more transparency in sport.
Thanks, Katie.
And I'm going to announce the winner of the Metlife competition. It's Cassandra Brownstein, product manager from USA. We've got the awesome Nike backpack and the sustainable water bottle coming your way. And we have one more gift giveaway courtesy of Alison. And I'm going to ask Alison to give us the question.
Who was the winner of the 2021 Open Championship at Royal St. George's?
Send your answers to the live chat. And I'm going to move now on to the career corner part of the show. Julia from Heineken had to drop off because we've overrun, but it's been such a rich conversation and we're going to keep going. So the pressure's on you, Christine. You're going to give us all the career answers. What are your 3 career tips? You've mentioned some at the beginning, and obviously Alison picked up on them as well. But what are your 3 career tips to carve a career in the industry? And we also had a question to you especially, and that was Director of Ops, High Impact Athletes who from Berlin, which was how can we step up, take up space, be visible, form connections when in a concrete male-dominated space like a tournament, conference, or anything really?
I love this question, and I'll answer the question first, and then can go into some tips. But funny enough, I think it's the answer that I gave earlier about the 3 of us at that PGA Tour event, where we just kind of the 3 women at the event just kind of congealed together, and we got to know one another. So when you're at meetings or when you're at conferences, I am a firm believer, and this would be one of my tips. Do not underestimate the value of networking and meeting new people and talking to new people. You never know where it is going to lead you. But when you are in those environments, sometimes it's easy to be like, oh, I'm exhausted. I just want to sit at this table and drink coffee and check my emails so I can go to bed, an hour earlier tonight. But you're around people who you can learn from, and you might be able to help. So take advantage of those moments. When those moments someday hopefully happen again, when we're allowed to go to conferences and global meetings, but take advantage of being in that moment and being around individuals who may be influential to you in the future, or that you may be able to help. So I think it's just recognizing the moment and I hate to say that, like leaning into it, but leaning into it.
I've got another question from Anna Blanchard. She's a Sega women mentor. I'm sure you're smiling. I'm taking it that you know Anna, so you can see people are watching all over the world. Anna, for those that don't know, she's partnership marketing at MLS, Major League Soccer. And her question, and it's incredibly relevant to your career, Christine, is how did you find the shift from agency to brand side? How were you able to leverage your agency experience positively in your current roles? Great question, Anna, and hope you're well, by the way.
Hi, Anna, great question. And I will say, I know we're running short on time, so if certainly anybody out there, if you have questions or want to just connect on LinkedIn, again, I'm living proof of, the value of LinkedIn and believe in connecting with other great women and leaders in our industry. So please feel free to reach out. Anna, to your question specifically, the transition honestly was not easy. It took a lot of interviewing and a lot of tears and crying on my end and a lot of rejections before I ultimately got this opportunity with Metlife. I will say though, and I'm a strong believer in everything happens for a reason, which I have to repeat to myself very often. But I will say, you know, the joy and the benefit of coming from agency life, and I would never trade the 10 years I had at Octagon for anything, because I learned so much, and the people that I got to work with there are truly incredible. And, you know, I will say the benefit of the agency side is you're rolling up your sleeves and you truly feel like you're the one getting it done, right? The brand side, a little bit, it's a lot, the experience is a lot different, right? The function of the brand is to get everybody internally to buy into your idea, to get the approvals that are needed, to get the legal sign off. So I don't want to say that it's not as glamorous, but I do think from the outside looking into brand, it's a lot more of the minutia. And I feel like from the agency side, you're the one that's really accomplishing the work and getting so much done. So I hope, Anna, that answers your question a little bit.
That's great. And we've got a video question all the way from Dublin. Her name's Barney Duker. She's a sports administrator, and she captured it with a beautiful background with Dublin in the background. Over to Barney's question.
Hello, Sega Wow. Greetings from Dublin, Ireland. My name is Barney, and I'm a sports administrator working in event management here in Dublin and in London. My question for today's panel is, when global brands and global events marry, it seems like a match made in heaven. How extensive is your research into a new potential partnership? And can you name 3 values you look for when looking to seal a deal? Thank you.
Sealing the deal. Still, how do we do it?
That is a great question, and agreed. I love Bonnie's backdrop. You know, honestly, and this is so relevant to the group collected here today, the integrity of the brand and the integrity of the sport is very important. Certainly coming from, you know, speaking on behalf of MetLife, a company that people look to be a trusted organization, to be upright and upstanding, to carry out your financial needs. So anything that we look to align ourselves to has to have that same level of standard. So if there's, you know, it's honestly, to be honest, it's a reason that MetLife doesn't align with individual athletes, due to the fact that someone could say something or post to their social media account something that we don't believe in as a brand. So it's something that again, the integrity, the character of, in this case, an individual, but the character of a sport and what the sport stands for is very important coming from the brand side.
Thank you, Christine. I mean, time has absolutely flown. And I just want to say that those people who I didn't ask the question, there's Taryn Horner and there's Naomi Kerville, both of who are Sega Women mentees. I will send them to our guests outside, and I will give you your answers. But it just shows how pertinent this topic is. And I'm really pleased with all the global response for this 4th episode. And it occurred to me, normally we do have an athlete that we announce during the show as a female champion, but I decided to do something different because most of the athletes are at the Olympics. So they're currently taking part in sport, and Olympic fever has swept globally at the moment. But I invited Claire Johnson, who's the CEO of The Naked Warrior. She's a female empowerment coach, a qualified personal trainer and nutritionist, on how to share her top tips on how to unleash your alpha female. I'm going to cut to the interview I had with Claire. I have a very special guest with me. Her name's Claire Johnson. She's an absolute warrior. In fact, she's called The Naked Warrior. And when I was reading her book, By the Pool, earlier the weekend, which is called The Winning Formula, it starts off with a really powerful sentence: why not me? And that's very, very motivating and questioning to ourselves. Why don't we as women put ourselves ahead? And so I've asked Claire to come on to tell us how to unleash your alpha female. Over to you, Claire.
Oh, amazing, Katie. Thank you so much. It's great to be here and joining you today.
And it's a great question. You know, often we ask ourselves, or we compare ourselves to others and think, you know, they're doing something amazing. But then we never ask the next question, why not me? Because when you start to ask that question, you know, then you're allowed to come up with the answers. You're opening up that space to think, okay, so if I was able to do this, could I then achieve that? And it's a very empowering word and phrase to use. So, you know, with anything, if someone else can do it, then why can't I? So it's also very inspirational, and it really connects to the essence of what I call being alpha female. Now, it's really quite interesting because if you look up the term alpha female in the dictionary, it's not there, but alpha male is. And when someone thinks of an alpha, they think of it's quite a negative term, where I like to use it with, especially with women, to create themselves to be the best possible version of themselves. So when I talk about one of my little taglines is, you know, why be average when you can be alpha? It's about being the best version of yourself and really embracing the elements of yourself that live up to being your best self and in your best life. And there's certain different traits and personality styles, if you like, that you can really start to draw on to bring out that alpha female within you. So you're being the best possible version of yourself, and you're helping to lift others up around you. So it's not about competing against others or trying to dominate over others. It's about dominating yourself and dominating your life to get the best from it. And in doing so, by being the best version of yourself, creating that ripple effect, so it really starts to lift others up around you as well. And there's some key traits that I'd like to share with you now about how women can be empowered to step into their alpha female. The first one I'd like to share is alpha females. They speak up when they feel that they need to or when they want to. They're not afraid to express themselves and say what's important to them. And they have great communication skills and able to express themselves clearly and get their point across. They will also speak up for others, and in particular, they will do so when they feel that there's an injustice or that something needs to be set right. You know, so an alpha female will always look after the others around them and have their back as well as their own. They're straightforward talking. They don't beat around the bush. You always know where you stand with an alpha female. Another trait that they will always display is that they will create the perception that they're fearless, where in actual fact, they will feel the fear but do it anyway. And instead of being paralyzed by anxiety and worry, it's turning that into excitement. And they get comfortable with living in the uncomfortable. So they're not afraid to get out of their comfort zone because they thrive on seeking the new adventure, that new experience, and having that test of themselves to see what they're truly capable of, which some might interpret as being fearless. But like I said, they feel that fear, but then they go ahead and do it anyway, and they don't let the fear stop them. An alpha female will also be a very good decision maker. They might take time to work out what their decision is, and they might take time to analyze and really think clearly about all the impacts that can come from one decision. But they will be bold, and once that decision's made, they will stick to it and they will go for it and they will own it. And there'll be no backtracking, no umming and ahhing. It's like, no, they're fully committed and they have the attitude of going all in. And they will do what they want to do. They're not afraid to go against the grain. They're not afraid of social stigma. If they truly believe in something that they want to do, then they're going to 100% go for it. And that's what I encourage all women to do, to really step in and embrace that alpha female element that they have. Number 4 is their self-belief. And their self-belief and their confidence in their ability comes from keep testing themselves and trying something new. You know, they don't rely on external influences to boost their self-belief or their morale. You know, they rely on themselves. If something needs to be done, then they will go and get it done and do whatever needs to be done to get the action and the outcome that they want. So they're not afraid of that. And it's this continuous repeated behavior that gives them that self-belief, that they have this self-assuredness, that they know exactly what they're capable of. Because like I said, it comes back to their element of living in their uncomfort zone, so they know what they're capable of. And similarly, on the backside of that, if they're not sure of how to do something, then they're not afraid to ask, because that links back in to speaking up and asking and saying what they need as well as what they want. And the last little trait that I'd like to share with you today is that they want to lift others up around them. They want their actions to inspire others and lift them up and demonstrate how others can live by living with integrity to the values that we've spoken about before. So that's how you can start to jump into your alpha female and start to really feel connected and empowered. And if you embrace some of these traits every day, or do one of them a little bit each week, over time with consistency, you'll gradually see and feel yourself feel empowered and stepping more into your alpha female.
Well, I'm ready to step into my alpha female. Are you, Christine? Sounds like you're already there.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Katie. I'm going to go read the book. I wrote it down.
Brilliant. Well, in fact, you can win it because Claire is going to be featuring on the WOW episode in October. But I will certainly get her to send you a copy of that book, and we will be having the question. Maybe you will win the answer to the question. I'd like to thank you very much, Christine, for your honesty, the way you were so frank in answering all the questions. It was truly refreshing. And I'd like to thank Alison as well, who's not with us, and Julia, who had to dash to another meeting. But thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Katie. It was a true pleasure today. Thank you.
Excellent. And I'm going to announce the winner of the Mastercard gift giveaway. It's Ruby Ann Kagoan. Hey, Ruby Ann. And she's the Asia Committee Director at CONIFA. And I know that she participates in most of our thought leadership programs. So I'm absolutely delighted that that prize is going to Ruby. And I'm going to close now very quickly with our regular feature, which is our Man of the Month. This is given to a man who has championed female leadership in sport. And the man is Michael Robershaw, who's Senior Vice President, Global Sponsorships at Mastercard. And Michael is the Man of the Month because he has led by example and created a leadership lane for Alison to run for the Sega Council Global Elections. Michael took a step sideways and gave Ali that leadership lane, and she successfully was elected onto the council. We need more men like Michael to create gender parity in the boardroom. So thank you, Michael. And I'm just going to end this final episode by asking our viewers to stand with Sega, support our sport integrity goals, hold sports and brands that you like and love accountable to the values you champion and that we at Sega champions. Each of us can make a change, and if we all do it together, we can have a huge impact. Tune in for the 5th episode of Sega WOW, Wednesday, the 1st of September. And don't forget to register for our Sport Integrity Week. It's the 2nd edition, and it's taking place the 13th to the 17th of September. And we've got 500 tickets for under 30s. So register now. See you there. That's me from France. A bientôt. Take care.